out of?
You know, it was just crazy. And with the Lolo thing, and I wasn't even talking about Lolo. And, you know, if anybody knows me, they know that, like, I'm a very open book. Like, my backstory, I'm open with it. You know, just how I feel, I'm open with it. And that's just me. And sometimes I can put my foot in my mouth, and most times I don't. But this time I know that I didn't. Like, I just said, you know, they were very focused on Lolo, and Lolo got fourth. And to me, Lolo had an amazing season because it was so rocky at first, and for her to come all the way back and to get fourth was really a testament of her character. But we all know going into the Olympics, there are 3 medals. There is a gold, a silver, and a bronze. And we were on the media circuit, and they decided to keep Dawn and I together on the media circuit, which we were already, you know, like about, because we wanted our individual time. Yeah. And they just asked me about Lolo, and I said something about, like, the people who worked hard and will be on the podium tonight, and, you know, that's just what it is. And I wasn't being rude. It was just the fact of, like, the media was like, oh, poor Lolo, and I was like, did y'all forget I didn't win though? Yeah. Like, I got whole third. Yeah. Like, I'm now over the moon about my Olympic medal, and it is one of the best things that I've ever done. But it was difficult to, like, have your accomplishment diminished because someone that they loved so much didn't accomplish what they said that she should have. Right. And so they took it into this whole thing of, like, we hate Lolo, we're bashing Lolo, or we hate Lolo because we're dark skinned and she's light skinned.
Oh, I heard that.
And I was like, I mean, I don't know nothing about that. Like, I don't dislike. I think Lolo's fine. Like, she's a pretty girl, and we're all beautiful in our own way.
I think that's interesting, and maybe now I knew this was gonna happen.
Did it die? Oh,
no, hot. It got hot. That's why. Okay. So what I wanted to ask, we had to switch cameras. My camera got a little too hot. What I wanted to ask was, because I've never spoken to you directly about that, because I remember that whole thing playing out, of course. But number one, I do agree that kind of your moment is almost taken away from you, and it's the thing that you go through in media training. Like, they're going to try to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, but always try to bring it back to yourself. Right. But then it's like, you're asking me these questions, but you're asking me about another athlete. So I want to know, like, now being on the other side of the media and seeing how things play out with that, you know, in hindsight being 2020, do you still have the same feelings about that? And B, you know, what can you do differently going forward? Because, like, even this summer in London with Justin, again, feel how you want to feel about Justin and his past, you know, whatever. But we come from a place where you do your time,
and that's it.
And that's it. You know what I mean? So, but we saw it became the hero and the villain. Because, like you said, there was the person that everyone expected to do this, but then someone else came in and dethroned him. Yeah. And it became the villain and the good guy. So I want to know how you now see it playing out on the other side.
If I could go back, I would say the same thing. Okay. 100%. I stand by what I said, and it had nothing to do with the person.
But do you think that the media had a part to do in how, because this is the thing, so often we can give a quote, say what we mean, and how we mean it, but somehow the narrative
it's
is 100% twisted changed. Or
they like stories.
Right.
And most media they're taught to get the story. So now that
Which
I'm
is
on
why Trump is our president, but
old 45.
Old 45, exactly.
But now that I'm on the other side, it actually gives me great joy to change the narrative. So, like, for Justin, the morning after he won his medal, it was before his ceremony, we brought him on to NBC, and I begged and fought for it, because I watched the boos, and, you know, sitting in that booth and listening to them boo somebody who's my friend, first of all, it's like, because in other sports, sometimes you don't even know if a guy gets an infraction. He just misses some games, and that's it. Right. And Justin's first thing was so, like, he has ADD, ADHD, and if anybody knows Justin, they know that he does. Yeah. So that was such a fluke thing, and, you know,
he wasn't educated. He was in college. He had no idea about anything like that. And then the second one, he said he's stuck to his story from the beginning. That's just what it is. And it's not for us to debate or not debate. The powers that be let him back in the sport.
Right.
Now, you can like it or not like it.
And I think that, too, is something that the point should be made, that if you have a problem with anyone, have a problem with the system allowed him to come back.
Because they could have said, Justin, we adore you, but you can't come back.
Right.
But they didn't, because obviously there was enough evidence to see what happened. And I'm not here to debate that. But first of all, there's a decorum that you have in a stadium. And there was no decorum.
Right.
And so we brought Justin on, and I got to ask him questions and really let Justin share himself. Talk about the person that they don't see on the track. Justin's a son. Justin's a brother. Justin's a dad.
Father.
So I took great joy in letting him do that. And anytime I interview athletes, or when we talk about spotlights on athletes, I'm always working to change the narrative. Or they wanted to spotlight a certain athlete that didn't win over an athlete that won, and I could not stand behind that, because that is the rudest thing ever. Like, I know that y'all love him. You love him to death. I love him too. I know him personally. Y'all are in the booth. I know him. He is awesome. He did not win, so he does not get this. He doesn't get this spot. The person that worked hard and came out on top that day, because it's a day, gets
all
the
those
spot.
hours of training.
Yes,
It's a day.
It's a day. It's some seconds.
Yeah, and it's a moment that you never get back.
And I didn't want to take something from that athlete that I look back on myself and I'm like, if this was me, well, it was me. And, you know, it was a little taken. So I want everybody to get their just due, because 5 years from now, they're not going to remember who won whatever, but that person that won will always remember that. And their mama that's at home that may not have been able to afford a flight is at home watching her baby. So I'm going to give them their just due. So I just try to change the narrative, and then it helps people fall in love with the sport as well.
I love
because
that,
if somebody didn't win, then why are we watching a 45-second spot on them? Let's talk about who did win. And then that's a different person that gives them an outlet of like, oh my gosh, she's from the same place I'm from, or they go to the same church I do. Well, let me start supporting. And so it opens up, you know, the road for so many other people.
And I think that something that's worth mentioning about that is something that I've had a problem with our sport for a while, when we talk about the narrative and we talk about bringing people into the sport. When I go out into the world and someone asks me, hey, you look like an athlete, what do you do? And I say I run track. The next question, maybe not the first question, but the second question, do you do steroids?
Really?
Yes. And I'm like,
Ooh.
That's something that has tainted our sport for so long. And the thing is, we know it happens. It's not something that we're proud of. We hope USADA, WADA, all of the above are doing their job to clean the sport. However, it's a part of the narrative that I just think is just too... It's sensationalized.
Oh, yes.
And the thing about it is, it's in every sport. And you kind of touched on it a while ago when you were speaking, in that other athletes in other sports have infractions.
All the time.
They serve their time, they come back. You may see a little blip run across ESPN that someone tested for whatever, but it's not the entire narrative. And I think that is a big part of why a lot of people, the American public and sponsors, don't want to touch track and field, because it has been it's just been the narrative. Like, well, it'll be an entire track meet, and that's the thing that we're talking about. And it's like, why not talk about the athletes that are out here doing it clean and working hard, and so I think
but in reality, it's so few that it could be left out. Because just from being with my husband, like, he'll point out, like, oh yeah, that guy, he had to set out 4 games for PEDs, and nobody knows it. But it doesn't, like, there's 120,000 people at every game watching, cheering for him, and they don't care about that. So I guess the point that we're trying to make is not that it's okay, because by no means is it okay. Don't do drugs. But let's spend more time highlighting the positive. The people that don't do drugs, and the people that positive probably wasn't the right word to use for that. Yeah. The people who are working hard, going out and just,
you know, doing things to put track and field in a positive light.
Right.
We just can't get away from that word.
Yeah.
But I would just like to see us spend more time, and it comes back to us, like you said, we have to get out and be, you know, get on the grassroots levels.
And
get
we
out
have to stop it within our sport.
with
We have to stop it. Stop it.
Stop it.
Because
when I see people on Twitter going
talking
back and
about-
forth, and I'm like, if you're showing that you don't even believe in your sport,
then why should
someone else believe in your
when
sport?
somebody has a dramatic drop, that's the first thing that people talk about. Oh, I bet they're doing drugs. I
Oh
bet
my
they're
God,
doing drugs.
that was, people were asking me those questions about London. London was so slow. I'm like, pause. First of all, if you know your history about track and field, you know everything is in cycles. Last year was an Olympic year.
Any year after the Olympic year is slow.
It's slow. And
it's because we do so much harm to our body. And then your adrenals literally cannot get back up to that level. It's not going to happen. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much you pray to whatever person you believe in. It's not going to happen. If you, like, it made me so mad. People talking about that. If you go back and look at any amount of history, you will see that, after the Olympic year, any world championships is slow.
And then not to mention, it was in London. No shade to London, loved London, but the weather was not awesome. So,
and then, first of all, people at home would never know that it's slow unless we said it was slow. Because 9.9 to a guy that's sitting on the couch is still fast. Okay. So they won't know that it's slow until y'all, the track world. Oh my God, it's so slow.
But
it's
half
so
the people
slow.
that are saying, "Oh my God, that was so slow."
What's your
have
PD?
Have you played a sport out of high school?
Thank you.
Now we're getting shady, but let's just keep it funky.
But that's the thing. Like, what's your PB? Or you're saying that, you know, Justin winning, Christian Coleman getting second, and Bolt getting third was slow, but yet you're at home.
Facts.
Like, so it's not even shady because
it's facts.
And yes, and in our sport, we have the least shade because there are numbers. There are no judges. There's no line judge. There's nobody telling me I hit my double back. Well, there is.
Don't step on the line.
Don't step on the line. We had some problems with that too. Yeah. Yes, but there's no one to tell me my double back handspring wasn't right. The clock tells me when I start and when I finish. So it's not even shade. Like, no, those dudes made the final. And then outside of that, Justin and Christian made the team in America. And that's harder than anything. That is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
No shade, but I would even venture to say that our trials, our nationals, is harder than the actual world championships or Olympics.
Way
so
harder.
And
way more stressful.
Way more stressful. I mean, you go through nationals and you make the team, and it's like,
thank God.
And then it's another mental challenge to bring yourself back up to, because you went through all of that to make the team, and then now you have to bring yourself back up there
again.
To, like, you literally have to peak twice.
Yes.
Like. So
and people, it's so slow. Like, it really annoyed me. Like, when they asked Justin or they asked the guys, I think it was a broad question of, do you think it was because of anti-doping? Is why the time
and I think
slow?
Usain actually answered the question really well. I feel like that was very disrespectful. Like, because at the end of the day, we go out. Everyone from lane 1 to 8 go out and work hard every day. So much sacrifice. I can't even begin to tell you how much I've sacrificed just for this.
You miss birthdays, weddings. She couldn't come to my wedding. Got married. She couldn't come to my wedding because she had to get ready for the trials and she had to get ready for the Olympics. And of course, I mean, I did it, so I completely understand. But we miss everything. Like, there's a chunk of time that we dedicate to ourselves because we know we can't travel, we can't stay up late.
Even an extra flight takes something out of your body.
Yes, and you know, you were in Texas at that time, so it wasn't like a super far flight, but there's just, you can't do it, and of course you're like, dang, I really want to go.
By the way, when that invitation came in the mail, I was like, ooh, I'm not missing this one. It was a whole presentation. Like, it was like a box. It was a box.
It was a box. It was a box. So, you know, and it is disrespectful when they try to diminish your work and they ask silly questions like that.
Especially the media, because the media,
and you know, British media, I love my Brits, I do, hey y'all, but
But I'm gonna give BBC credit for this. Although I don't feel like it should have come to this, but I mentioned this in one of my previous tea times. They did come back and apologize for the narrative that was created around Justin, because the media does have a responsibility in terms of that narrative.
There's a story. Like, they have to sell a story. There is a story. Like, I get it. They got to sell a story. But it was just a lot. It was a lot to watch, and it was. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I'm glad that it was Justin, and that it wasn't somebody else, because I know that Justin he's a tough guy, and that he can take certain things.
He shouldn't have to. It still doesn't make it okay. But he did.
If it was some of our other guys that we do know, they wouldn't have survived, because that was hard.
And another thing that I appreciated too was that even though Usain could have been. We haven't seen him lose in how long?
Ever.
Since like 2007.
Rome, yeah. Well, he lost in Rome to Justin, but that was like a Diamond League meet.
Okay.
But I mean, outside of a major championship, we haven't seen that.
Yeah. So I think that he, I really appreciated how he handled all of that. Very gracious loser. And then even when some of the things that were directed towards Justin, he voiced that
he had his back.
That was disrespectful. So I did really appreciate that. Again, feel how you want to feel about either of those guys, but sportsmanship is sportsmanship. And I think that that's something that, we need to stick to, as well as we need to stick to, or we need to do a better job of creating the narrative
for ourselves.
Yes.
Take care of your own.
Yeah.
You don't see baseball players coming out talking about whatever, football players talking about whatever, hockey, whatever. We have to take care of our own.
But that's the thing, that when I said earlier about the self-regulation thing, there's stuff in place that keep those guys from doing those things. Because don't get it twisted. They feel how they feel towards, the locker room. Offense and defense are two different teams.
Yep.
It's one team, but they two different teams.
Yep.
But, there's things in place that keep them from, the guys know, and other sports, period.
They govern themselves, and they know that, it is a quote-unquote fraternity. And you take care of your own. And I think, like you said, we're so separate sometimes. Because, you trained in Texas, I trained in Florida, people train in LA.
And then we come together for a week, and we're expected to be a team.
To be like, team, so we just have to do better with taking care of our own and stopping the narrative, or just not having it. You can talk about it at home with your homegirl, but
Auntie Wendy calls it kitchen table talk.
But you're not doing it online, or under people's pictures or whatever, because if they see you doing, it's like your cousin. Like, somebody, you could talk about your cousin and be like, girl, look at her. But if somebody talked about her, you and the family come together. Exactly. So we have to come together, be it alumni, people still running, people that work in the sport. We have to be together.
Yeah. I will say that in particular, if I had and I think I said this in my blog too when I wrote about my experience in London, if I had any conflict about writing that, it was about that. Because I do believe that things need to be handled. There's a protocol for everything. And that was one of my arguments in my blog, was that, I feel like this protocol should be revisited. But in that, we have to respect that there is protocol and there is a proper space to have whatever conversations, whether we get in this room and we scream and shout across the table. At the end, we need to come to a resolution, which is something that we absolutely need to do a better job of. But we need to have that safe space where we do get to voice whatever, but we also need to have each other. And I think something that's worth also mentioning, because I feel like we're kind of talking around it a little bit, in that, with Justin, we're not defending Justin's past. He did something wrong and he served his time. I'm also very close with Tyson Gay. Tyson made a mistake. He served his time. He's still a great friend to me. It's hard. It's something that's hard for me to come to terms with, because I have been on the side where I've missed opportunities because of cheating.
Yeah.
And it's not just the missed spot on the team. It's the missed potential bonus, the missed potential renegotiation of contracts.
Rollover is...
all of that. Exactly. So I've definitely been on both sides of it, where it's like, you're messing with my livelihood. But then on the other side of it, where it's like, I'm really disappointed in you, but you're still my boy. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a hard one for me to come to terms with, but I still feel like it's something that we need to get away from always talking about it. Always, you know, I'm not saying it's not a conversation that we need to have.
It just shouldn't be the first.
It shouldn't be the first, and it shouldn't be a public one.
No.
And I would like to see track and field move in a more positive, there goes that word again, but I can't think of anything else to say. I would like to see the sport move in a more positive direction in terms of the light that the sport is shown in, and the athletes in you know, the sport. Because Justin and Tyson have, you know, and as well as many other athletes, but they also do amazing things in their communities.
Also, Justin's starting his own foundation, so is Tyson. And I know, like, there's so much more positive. There's so many other positive things that we could focus on rather than that. And I do agree. Like, you look at people and you're like, dang, I really like them, but this is what happened. But I guess that's where you have to separate, like, that personal and professional.
Right. Because we do have when you have that, like you said, that personal relationship, it does make things different because we talk about, you know, being human, and when you don't have that connection to someone, it's very easy to be judgmental, to sit back and point the finger and to be upset but when you do have that personal connection, it becomes more of a disappointment. Yeah. And again, still not defending their actions, but you still know that person is a human being, and you watch them. I mean, for me with Tyson, me watching him, I just feel like with him, he just went through a series of unfortunate events that I don't know how he's still standing because he's been through some things over the past few years that's the side of things that people don't see. Right. And, you know, we said this earlier, you could say yes 100 times, it's that one negative thing that now you're just the worst person on earth. And, but it's not the case. You know, they made some mistakes, and yes, it affected other people, and it affected other people negatively, but we're still human beings, and we still need to do a better job of just being. That word was about to come out again, but I'm trying to get away from it. And also, like, we shouldn't sweep it under the rug. We have to move past it at some point because nobody is a saint. Everybody has done something that they're not proud of. Yeah. And so you don't want somebody hanging on to, like, what you did. It's like a relationship where you cheat. Like, you cheated. When you either gonna let it go or don't. So we have to, you know, move past it and just celebrate all the great things that we have going on. Like, Team USA did great at World Championships, and you know, we broke records. Yeah, the old heads held it down. The new kids, you know, definitely held it down. Yes. So there's so many other things that we could be talking about rather than that. And I appreciate that. So let's wrap this up because this got really long. But I haven't done a tea time in a long time, so this is going to be special. I think let's wrap it up with, okay, I kind of asked, is there anything that you would have told Kellie while you were competing now that you're on the other side of it? Not to take everything so seriously. And to not, I think that's the first thing I would tell myself. Yeah. Not to be so serious, not to be so easily offended by things, and to really enjoy the experiences that we do have. Because I did enjoy them. I'm not saying that I didn't, but now that I'm on the other side of things and I have to pack a baby bag to go to CVS, to know to be so young and carefree. Yeah. That, you know, I saw countries that they paid me to go to that sometimes I couldn't even pronounce or didn't know where they were, to really be in the moment and to take every day and every step and enjoy it. Smell the flowers, see where you are, go out and explore, eat some food that, you know, comes from there, the indigenous food. Don't just go to the McDonald's. Really enjoy my experience. And I did. I look back upon that time and it was awesome. But to do it more. Yeah. So that's it. Well, thank you, Miss Wells-Brinkley, for stopping by. Well, I stopped by her crib and we didn't really spill tea, but, you know, this was good conversation.
It was.
So, hope you guys enjoyed as usual. I don't know who's coming up next on Tea Time, but you know, this is a special edition. We'll certainly have you back at some point.
Oh yeah,
you know,
anytime.
Because you're on the road now.
Anytime.
You're on the other side.
Yeah, now I'm good.
but-
Now I'm good. I'm out here traveling on TV, you know.
Yeah,
Good.
so we'll see you on the road. But as usual, you guys, make sure you subscribe. Thumbs up this video. I know this one was dope. So, and we'll catch you around. Peace.